Happy day. Hi. Hi, happy day. Thank you for visiting my channel if you're new here. My name is Miriam. I'm up early, y'all. And I know I'm up early because daylight savings time happened. And if I had woken up this time, like a little over a week ago, I would have woken up at 4:50 something, you know. The insecurity that you have bred or that has been bred in you is something that is leaving you. And it's almost like you have well, not almost, like you have abandonment issues. So even whenever these things leave you, you're like, but wait, aren't you choosing me? And like that's what keeps coming up. Ooh wee. And timing is everything. That's what came up. Timing is everything. And that's the same with your insecurities. Like when people left you, it wouldn't have been so upsetting if they left you whenever you weren't upset about the situation, you know? Ooh, confirmation work. It actually reminds me of this thing that I watched. There was like this ad of entrepreneurs, and there's this like guy who's like talking about narcissists. And he says that narcissists are likable and they don't give a fuck. And that's what's likable about them. And it's because it lacks insecurity. And so lacking security is something that really people are drawn to because they don't want to feel insecure. They want to feel secure like this person is presenting. And so, like, he says, whenever you're trying to give advice to people and they don't want to listen, it's because of their insecurity at the time. They don't want to hear it from you. Stop. You're picking on me. Don't look at that. Oh, you're right. Oh, you look at me and you look at my nose and you're like, hey, I can help you with your blackheads. You just do this, 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 and this, and this. And I'm just like, you just are looking at my black. Why are you doing that? I didn't ask for help. I didn't ask for help. And you just gave me this advice. And so he says to avoid that problem, you say, instead of coming up to me and be like, hey, I see that you have blackheads. Here's how to fix that. You say, oh, hey, by the way, if you ever want to know about getting rid of blackheads in any way, I just found out a way, so let me know. And I'm around because I'm trying to be an expert on it. And then just go around telling that to everybody, whether or not they have blackheads. Or hey, if you know anyone or anybody, like if you just whatever, you could just ask it in a way like where they have the choice to come back when they are more secure in themselves to ask that question and have the answer. And then he goes on to say that it also shows security in yourself because you're letting them walk away. You're not like, let me hurry up and explain right now because look how important I am. See, look how much I know. I can heal you, right? Are you gonna be my friend now? Are you gonna stick around now that I'm helping you? Probably not. And they're probably not even gonna listen. So I went to go roll my die, but I went to a blacksmithing class and my die rolling arm is actually pretty sore. So I'm only gonna let this one just fall as it may. 6. Listen to your heart when it's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. You know? 4:54 as I say it, so apparently you do. Are you doing your therapies? Are you doing your therapies? Now look, majority of people do have some type of therapist or something, or counselor or something that they're seeing. But are you actually doing it? Like when you show up, are you fully telling them your problems? Or are you like still dealing with the mask that's welded to your face? Iron mask. Did you know there was a prince look-alike under there? Anyway. 552. That's whenever I woke up this morning, by the way. 5:52. I woke up and said something into my phone and uploaded it to Patreon. I'm already feeling a lot better. I was so tired, and now I'm like, I just had like my first sip of coffee. It is still pretty early though. It's only 6:29 right now, so I probably shouldn't be too excitable for the household. Today we're doing a lot of big stuff. It's like today we're doing stuff. I'm hearing testimony. I'm hearing the words testimony. 6:39 as I say this, so. So I'll make this about my testimony, one of the many that we all have, a part of my testimony. In this moment, behind the scenes, before posting all these things, a big reason why I'm posting all this stuff is because my life has been in turmoil for the past few months. I mean, my life has been in turmoil as long as I've allowed it to think that it was in turmoil, but for the most part, my life is good. But there have been a lot of changes that have been happening, and my mindset is good. So that helps, and that always has helped, is seeing the silver lining. But in my specific case, I still deal with the CPTSD that I have. I still deal with the anxiety that's paired with it. I have pretty chronic stomach issues and extensive damage to my lower back that causes a lot of pain in my body. In October, my business that I had taken over, that I was the proprietor of or whatever, we were told that we had to move out because the landlord was no longer going to continue our lease. They wanted to continue with the peer recovery group and expand into that. So I was like, understandable, that's a big deal and all that. And it's funny, I'm wearing this shirt. It says, "Witch, please," because the store that I had, a lot of people were like, "She's a witch. They're witches. They're all witches," and they were terrified of us. Honestly, they were so scared. And we were selling herbs of God. We were selling healing and word from God. Granted, we weren't selling the word. People just came in and we were just speaking and channeling and all of that and helping people heal. But people are scared of witches still. And so they kind of cast that onto a lot of people. You're a witch, you're a witch, you're a witch. I'm like, okay. I mean, I understand that that's the word that you've given to it. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to cause any harm to you. And we already know the history of what the witches were. And if you don't, I'll tell you. Back in the day, during like Salem witch trials and all that, all the people that they considered witches were the ones who were the healers of the community. The ones that people would go to and be like, oh my gosh, my daughter is sick. Help me. And they knew all the herbs and all that. They studied and they really did their best to heal their community. Um, I think there was something about the Salem witch, or not, the witch trials in general, not even just the Salem witch trials, but the witch trials, and that because witches were killed, it led to the Black Plague. But I wasn't there. Don't don't quote me. Do your own research. And even then, you weren't there. um, but essentially, witches usually had cats, and cats ate rats, and rats carried fleas, and fleas carried the bubonic plague. Something along those lines. But along that time, whenever my shop was closing down, um, my interpersonal relationships became tumultuous, to say the least. And not necessarily directly to me, but the people around me weren't getting along. And I didn't know how to deal with that. I was put in the middle a lot. I was like considered like they would come to me and be like, "Hey, this is what's going on," and then I was almost like I had to have a solution, not necessarily from them, but like I was pushing that on myself because this is what I had been doing the whole time. I had been being there for these people, um, but I wasn't at that time. I had specifically said before all this stuff happened, "Hey, in October, I'm not even going to be at the shop. I'm going to need y'all to run the shop." We get a notification late September. I still have stuff to do. I'm still going to do those things. Um, and during that time, it was like the first of many events to launch me into this growth period, is what I shall say, because that's what it has been. There's something about friendship and business that tends to be kind of like more difficult, especially if there are expectations that no one knows about. Um, and I think a lot of times in friendships, there's this need to not express your expectations because you're like trying to unconditionally like be cool with your friend. Um, but it is important to do that, guys, to set your expectations. Otherwise, it leads straight to disappointment. And so whenever that change happened, like I just kind of had to accept that I couldn't help these people. I couldn't help anybody because they were still stuck in whatever insecurities that they were stuck in. And that's why they were arguing with each other. That's why they were upset about these things. And that's why whenever my store was closing and I noticed that everybody treated it like a death and everyone was picking it apart and seeing what they could get. Let me get this, let me get this, let me get that, let me get this. I just took note because it was them stuck in their cycles of insecurity. Like, oh, 13, oh, 1389. Anyway, light goes off. And I couldn't do anything about it. I literally physically couldn't do anything about it. This is all happening in October. I was working like a different job in like an hour away. So like I was busy. And I also didn't have the bandwidth because after a while of maintaining relationships for everyone else, you kind of get fed up. And you say, "You know what? Y'all are grown. I am not y'all's mamas." Okay? Y'all got to figure it out. Because whenever we look back at the situation now, we saw where the lack of communication was and how that could have been solved. But because they were mad at each other, they didn't work together. And so it made it harder on each party. Majority of my stuff was more spiritual and emotional, and accepting that sometimes people want you for what you can provide and not because of who you are. And sometimes people, whenever they're accusing you of things, it is because they are doing those exact same things. My ex would always accuse me of cheating. He didn't want me to wear any like cute clothes. He wanted me to like have my hair in a bun all the time, never wear makeup, all that stuff. And it's not like I dress crazy cute all the time anyway. I dress all right. I dress okay, but he didn't want me to do nothing. And then he cheated on me. He was cheating. He was always so worried about it because he was cheating. If somebody's like, "Oh, you're gonna be mean to me," or "You're judging me," they're probably judging you. And it's just kind of their nature. It's like, "Oh, you owe me something." They probably owe you something. They probably got away with not paying you something, and you were just so nonchalant, and so now they feel like you owe them something. But that isn't how people work. People look at their insecurities or whatever, and they don't look at them. They just speak through them. And as things like become more evident as you move through all of these things, all these energy stuffs, you're going to be like, "Oh, actually, I just can't do that anymore." Because there were times in my life that I would have been like, "Yes, okay, let me come in and with my Pisces self and manipulate the fuck out of this situation. And make sure everybody's right on par the way I want them to be." And so then they're doing the best. But I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't that person anymore. That's not my job to manipulate anybody. Like, I already know that y'all are moving out of ways that are insecurity and not out of love. Fully out of fear. And it was something that I still necessarily haven't received a true apology for. Because the way that they say it's like the apology should be just as loud as the action. And that's okay. I don't need an apology. Like, there's not a real one. I've already gotten apologies from people in my past. Like, for instance, my ex will say sorry, but in the same breath be like, "But you did this." That's not an apology. That's you trying to confront a situation, but you're not confronting the situation. You're trying to make yourself feel better. But you would feel just fine, the same way that I do, if you didn't. You have regrets. You have regrets as to the way things ended. And so now you feel the need to come back in some type of way. I never asked for an apology. And that's a big thing that I tell people. I don't like being apologized to. Honestly, it's a huge pet peeve of mine. Because a lot of times people are just saying, "I'm sorry" for no reason. They're just saying, "I'm sorry" for breathing. Why are you actually sorry? What are you actually sorry about? Do you remember that time whenever you called me a bitch? Do you remember the time that you literally took things from me? Name them. Name the times that you betrayed me. Name the times that you know that you betrayed me. Oh, but he won't do that. I mean, he might one day. He's different now, At the time, we were both youngins. That stuff happens. And just so we know, I still have great love for him. He's still a good man, a kind person, all that stuff. He was having a hard time. He had a rough patch of time, and anyway, that doesn't excuse behavior. I understand why certain decisions or why certain paths were taken and all that stuff. I saw that. I understood it. I still don't necessarily forgive it because some things are unforgivable. Or excuse it. I don't excuse it. That's unexcusable behavior. Essentially, I've been taken advantage of a lot. And it's because I give people, what did I say? The other day, As I said, the difference between me and them is that they're opportunists and I'm an opportunity. And opportunists take advantage of an opportunity. That's just their nature. And opportunities stay being an opportunity. I don't have to be an opportunist because the opportunities come out of me. Even the word opportunity almost reminds me of opera, and then in tune, an opportunity. Anyway, it's not spelled like opera, I don't think. It's a U. Opportunity? No, there's a tunity. Oh, Lord. Now it's in my head. I can't spell my head. Port. Port. Or opportunity. A set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. A chance for employment or promotion. And the reason why I say I'm an opportunity is because I give people the chance for employment and promotion. And I kind of always have a set of circumstances around me to make it possible to do something, to do anything. And whenever you see yourself as that, you're not always looking outside of yourself for something. You're not always looking outside of yourself for some idea of how to be creative or whatever. Like yourself just says, oh, and they're like, well, somebody else is doing that. Like, okay, and just because somebody else is selling insurance doesn't mean I can't sell insurance too. There's multiple insurance companies. That's okay. Like, there's room. But when you're an opportunist, you see scarcity. You see that there's not enough. So you have to pounce on that prey and hurry up and get that opportunity. Meanwhile, you're looking at that opportunity like something you need, trying to be the opportunity, and you can't. Because you're constantly looking for things to opportunize as opposed to looking inside yourself. What I've noticed, especially being here in Colorado, like mushrooms are a really big deal here, and a lot of people do them, and like, cool, do your thing. The way that people then are like, try mushrooms. I'm like, chill out. Chill out. Like, I don't know, you brain slime, you got a brain slug on your head. But no, a lot of times it really does help people get to a space that they can start healing their minds, you know, especially whenever it comes to like addiction and all of that. Like a lot of the people that I do know who are in it are either fighting fentanyl or like or they're helping the black and brown community get over their traumas. But what I've noticed is that sometimes people just take them, and like they'll take them without any intent. Like the people that I've talked to about it, they always say to put your intent in your mushrooms as like you're getting them prepared. Like if they're dried, they give you ways to like there's lemon and then there's honey and stuff. I don't remember because I haven't done it, so I haven't gone through the steps. But either way, and then speaking your intention into that. And some people just like, let me have a fun time, and it's like, right. Do whatever you want. Like do whatever you want. It's just also whenever you're using a substance, or not a substance, because it's not quite a substance. Whenever you're using a plant to elevate yourself or something, especially it's a spiritual thing, and not letting it be a ceremony, you'll just rise whatever way you're rising. Like you're just a loose balloon being carried by the wind. Or you can choose to have control over where you're elevating to. It's like, ooh, confirmation burp. Ooh, confirmation burp. Because if you're going up and being floated, you're going to eventually land somewhere. Your balloon's going to stop having stuff, and it's just going to land somewhere. Maybe get lost in a tree or in some diaper that's in a park because it's just laying on the ground anyway. If you are aware of where you were floating off to, or if you are choosing to be an air mechanism that you have control over, then it'll be a lot easier to land where you're supposed to be. Especially whenever it comes to elevation, because we're going to come down. We have to land. Okay? We still have to come back to earth to see that our everything within our internal world is elevated. And so they call it, oh, what was it? Who said that? Oh gosh, I just saw somebody last night. And she said, the dark night of the soul, or as she likes to call it, the dark night of the ego, because the soul just is. And it's the egos who are freaking the fuck out that it's dark. And the soul is dark and light and all the things all at once. So yeah. That's it. That's it. Okay. I don't think I ever even really shared much stuff. That's just, I mean, I don't know. I was told to share my testimony, and I feel like I kept not talking about myself. It's a very difficult thing to talk about myself. Don't get me wrong. I could talk about myself. I do be talking about myself. I say I all the time and me all the time. So I am talking about me and I. And even then, I still try to say things in a certain way as to not really hurt people, especially whenever other people are involved in the story. But that's part of my testimony as a people pleaser in general. People pleasers are often opportunities. And so many other people can see how much potential you have. Not even potential, but how much you actively have. And they see that you're good at stuff. And so, and it a lot of times comes from the fact that they don't think that they're good at stuff. That's really the thing. And it becomes this point where you're like, I'm sorry that's happening to you. You can't take advantage of me now, okay? You're going to have to take advantage of yourself the way that I take advantage of myself, okay? Oh, somebody said, there was another thing that came up. I had to earn a place in my own heart. So where do you think you stand? Something like that. She was spitting bars. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's everything. So if you're a witch, please, I don't know, do whatever witches do. But, you know, and if you're not a witch, try not being so scared all the time. Okay? Just try not being so scared all the time. I haven't ever met a witch that hurt me. Granted, they probably thought I was a witch too. So, you know, whenever you have tattoos like this, it's pretty easy for people to think you're a witch as well. I just don't identify with that word. I identify as a numerologist. And I identify as Miriam. But there were times that I did identify as such. You know? And you're allowed to change whatever you want about yourself any day, anytime. And even if somebody says, well, you were this one time in the past, like, and so fucking what? Do you want me to be that again? Is that what you're asking? You want me to cast a little hex on you? And it's also funny because one of my laughs, I go, that's a witch laugh, bro. That ain't my fault. That's just how I laugh. I get so excited. But now I'm back talking. When you hear a witch laugh, she goes, what is that syllable? E. E. Crown and third eye are E. I mean, this is getting far too esoteric about the things that I'm constantly thinking about and the histories of the world, because words don't mean shit and numbers mean a little bit more to me. Words help, but like it's very difficult sometimes to even explain how I am the way that I get messages, because sometimes I hear a word, sometimes I see a thing, but for the most part it just is a no, like a comprehension. It's an entire memory or something. It's entire essence of feeling. So it's words don't do it enough, and my vocabulary is often lacking. I read books, and I went to school and I graduated and all that stuff. It's just like I'm. I don't think my mouth was made for the English language. I mean, I can say it and I could speak it, but like whenever I hear African languages, I like I feel like my mouth is ready to form the words. And whenever I say say African words, like I feel like my mouth is able to make those syllables a bit easier. Um, Granted, I don't know the language all the way, so it's still very possible that I get caught up in stuttering on stuff, trying to get certain things out of my brain. Um, anyway, oy, my arms are tired. Okay, much love, y'all. Keep a lookout for the numbers. Stay synchronized.